Farmweek is a production of the Mississippi State University Extension Service.
Today on Farm Week, we have two feature stories for you. We'll learn about a program that helps refugees to use their agricultural skills to build a new life in America.
In our Southern Gardening segment today, we'll have some ways to spice up your landscape.
In the food factor, smoothies. Made right, they can be nutritious too.
Our first feature story today is about a public forestry organization that organizes workshops each summer to help teachers learn about modern conservation.
I can identify trees for them, show them ways to identify trees, the invertebrates that we found in the river, the creek, and also to talk about the conservation and how that's important for that they take care of it as well, because if they don't take care of it, it won't be here later on.
Good day, everyone. I'm Leighton Spann.
And I'm Artis Ford. Welcome to Farm Week. Today it's a feature story edition of our show. Mississippi has always been deeply rooted in forestry, with over half the state's land is in forest. Well, the forest industry is a precious asset in Mississippi, and it contributes billions to our state's economy. It's important to promote education on how to conserve this resource. With that in mind, the Mississippi Forestry Commission created the Teachers Conservation Workshops. In a period of 1 week, teachers from around the state are educated about all the aspects of Mississippi forestry and how to teach resource conservation to their students. Farm Week's Amy Taylor first brought us this story in 2013.
At the Teachers Conservation Workshops conducted by the Mississippi Forestry Association, it would be difficult to briefly summarize all there is to learn. To accommodate teachers from the northern and southern ends of the state, two separate workshops are held, one at Northeast Mississippi Community College in Boonville and another at Jones County Junior College in Ellisville. Mississippi State University Extension Service Forester Butch Bailey says educators, professionals, and personnel from MFA, MSU Extension Service, and Mississippi Forestry Commission were on hand to teach participants about all things forestry.
The Teachers Conservation Workshop is a week-long educational program that the Mississippi Forestry Association has been conducting for 50 years. This is our 50th anniversary. We're pretty proud of that. And what we do is we take a group of about 20-25 teachers every year, and we spend 1 week teaching them everything we possibly can about forestry in Mississippi, from nurseries to the various management regimes, from private landowners to public landowners to big industry.
Additionally, Bailey says the teachers visited large logging and lumber mills, sawmills, and national and state forests, as well as privately owned forests. They got an inside look at Mississippi forestry, from tree planting to harvesting to safety procedures used at the various facilities. Soil variety, quality, and erosion were also discussed. First grade teacher Amy Taylor explains some of the activities at TCW.
We did measurement and evaluation, and we determined the diameter of trees and how many logs we can get from the trees, to see how many boards we can get from a log. We did some leaf tree identification. We've learned to tell the different types of trees according to their leaves, their bark, their fruit. We've played a game this morning with the tree identification that we can use to incorporate into our classrooms.
In addition, Taylor says she has an even greater appreciation for forestry and wildlife, and explains how TCW will help her educate her students.
I can identify trees for them, show them ways to identify trees, the invertebrates that we found in the river, the creek, and also to talk about the conservation and how that's important for that they take care of it as well, because if they don't take care of it, it won't be here later on.
Furthermore, Taylor says she and fellow participants were pleased to learn about the careful conservation steps Mississippi foresters take, such as planting approximately 6 trees for every tree that's cut and making sure to utilize all parts of the tree. In addition to outdoor and hands-on activities, classroom sessions offered an array of interesting topics discussing various wildlife species and habitats, water quality, testing the strength of wood, and even the different sizes of pine cones. Additionally, Extension Forestry Professor Dr. Glenn Hughes discusses how Project Learning Tree was used to help teach some of the workshop sessions.
Project Learning Tree is a program that's developed by an organization called the American Forest Foundation, and Project Learning Tree is an environmental education program. They have a really nice series of booklets that they develop for teachers that have practical exercises that teachers can utilize in their classroom.
Dr. Hughes says you wouldn't expect to be able to teach math, social studies, and human sciences using forestry, but Project Learning Tree makes that possible through activities offered on kindergarten through 12th grade levels. Additionally, Dr. Hughes and Butch Bailey elaborate more on why it's important to teach forestry and resource conservation in schools.
Forestry and forest products are a significant part of the economy of the state. In excess of $10 billion per year for the state of Mississippi. So it's a tremendous part of our economy, and it's part of the teacher. It affects the teachers directly and indirectly because we have 16th section lands, and the revenue from timber, for example, on 16th section lands goes directly to the school system.
And when you're talking about Mississippi history, it is forestry, or at least logging and timber harvest. That's why Mississippi was settled. It's most of us who live in Mississippi now are here because our ancestors were in some way connected to the timber industry.
Furthermore, educators at the Teachers Conservation Workshop recognize the priority of explaining the roles of various forestry-related organizations and institutes. For example, Mississippi Forestry Association Program and Event Coordinator Elena Pope says MFA is often confused with Mississippi Forestry Commission.
The Mississippi Forestry Commission is your state agency headed by the state forester, and they have county offices throughout Mississippi, so you'll hear about your county forester or your service forester. The Mississippi Forestry Association is a membership organization, so if you want to be a part of MFA, we tell you what your dues would be, and a private landowner does not pay the same dues as a large company would pay.
In addition, Pope explains one of the perks of being a member of the Mississippi Forestry Association.
We are there to represent them anytime that there's a bill coming up, whether it's something we need to support or not support. And we have a committee that makes the decision of which bills we're supporting. Our members receive a weekly legislative bulletin during the legislative session, and so they're always the first to know about these issues, and we send it out on Friday afternoon after the legislature convenes.
Another benefit for MFA members is receiving the quarterly newsletter addressing current forestry issues and containing articles that feature Mississippi State University forestry educators, MFA members, and others in forestry. Along with 50 years of teachers' conservation workshops, Mississippi Forestry Association is also celebrating its 75th year in existence, and this is the 25th year since Project Learning Tree began. As for participants' reactions to TCW, Butch Bailey says the remarks are excellent.
The response we get from the participants, from the teachers about TCW is uniformly positive. It's glowing. One of my jobs with TCW is compiling the evaluations that we get after each workshop. And I can tell you that, without exception, there are just no negative comments. We get comments, teachers saying it's the best continuing education workshop they've ever done. They're so glad. They had no idea how important forestry was, and those are the ones that are really gratifying. If I teach an adult, that's a good thing, but if you can teach a teacher about forestry, well, you've just multiplied your efforts exponentially.
Following 5 decades of successful teacher conservation workshops, participants and educators believe that through continuous efforts in resource conservation, Mississippi Forestry will be well prepared to serve future generations. I'm Amy Taylor reporting.
And you can watch this story again on the Teachers Conservation Workshop on our Farmweek website, Facebook page, or YouTube. The website address is farmweek.msucares.com. There are 3 workshops this year. The South one has already taken place. It was June 7th through the 12th at Jones County Junior College in Ellisville. The North workshop starts this Sunday, June 21st, and runs through Friday, June 26th. The location is the Northeast Mississippi Community College at Boonville. And then the Metro area workshop runs from July 14th through the 16th at the Mississippi Ag and Forestry Museum in Jackson. We'll have a link and a telephone number where you can register with the Mississippi Forestry Association. The cost is $115, and if you don't go this year, you need to put it on your calendar for next year. And Leighton, of course, that story was done back in 2013, so now this is the 52nd year. They've added that Metro workshop and they wrapped it around a weekend, once again trying to fit into people's schedules that maybe didn't want to be gone during the week, but maybe can work a long weekend in working on this. But all I can say is, just outstanding. And there's more than forestry. There's all sorts of wildlife. Yeah. Mississippi State is sending its wildlife
and it just spreads that conservation message to that younger generation, hands-on.
And when it's hands-on, the teacher's going to be more excited as well.
Thanks, Artis. Well, it's time now for today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. 4 of Mississippi's row crops set new yield records last year. One of them was corn. Our question, what was the state average corn yield in 2014? Is the answer 145 bushels per acre, 176, 185, or 201 bushels per acre? We'll have the answer after today's Food Factor segment.
Do you want to spice up the looks of your garden? In this week's Southern Gardening segment, Extension horticulturist Dr. Gary Bachman shows us some flowering vertical plants that will add pizzazz to your garden.
Vertical flowers add height and excitement. For this reason, every gardener should add some spiky spice to their landscape.
A plant with vertical flowers that isn't planted enough in Mississippi is foxglove. A variety that is sure to be a hit in your garden is the Camelot series. The large bell-shaped flowers are produced on spikes up to 18 inches tall. A closer look at the outward-facing flowers reveals a unique speckled throat that adds interest. Colors include rose, lavender, and creamy white. A favorite in any Mississippi summer garden is Angelonia, also called summer snapdragon. A selection that is sure to delight is the Serenita Angelonia series, with its blue, pink, and white colors. These tough but elegant plants bring long-lasting color with very little maintenance. They create a soothing sea of soft color in the landscape. Serenita Angelonia are heat-tolerant and grow 12 to 14 inches tall and wide. Now, one of the joys of gardening is coming across a new and very interesting plant, and I get to share one today. Syningia tubiflora is commonly known as hardy white gloxinia. All summer long, the green leaf clumps are covered with tall spikes of long, very fragrant, pure white flowers. This plant forms underground tubers that readily spread to fill in the planting bed.
I hope you'll plant some of these exciting plants in your landscape. I'm horticulturist Gary Bachman for Southern Gardening.
White gloxinia is originally from Argentina and Uruguay. In South America, it's tolerant to cold temperatures as low as 5 degrees.
Water is the best for beating the heat, but every so often we like a treat. In this week's episode of the Food Factor, Natasha Haynes of the Mississippi State University Extension Service shows us how to make summer smoothies.
Smoothies are a delicious way to get the nutrients you need without heating up the kitchen. Because everybody knows that summertime is smoothie time.
Yeah, it is. Hey, hey.
Hey, hey. Smoothies can be made in a variety of ways, but most feature some combination of milk, yogurt, fresh or frozen fruit, vegetables, honey, and ice. Some people like a thick textured smoothie with added protein. If this is your preference, just add peanut butter, Greek yogurt, or a part skim ricotta cheese. Others prefer a lighter version, concentrated with more vegetables, such as kale or spinach. Either way, smoothies are a great way to get the fruit, vegetables, dairy, and fiber we all need. Smoothies can give you a healthy energy boost, but watch your calories and your portion sizes. It's time to make healthy food a factor in your life.
For more refreshing smoothie recipes, visit the Food Factor Pinterest page at Mississippi State University Extension Service. Well, it's time now for the answer to today's trivia quiz on Farm Week. Mississippi corn farmers set a new yield record for the state last year, and the answer, according to the U.S. Department of Agriculture, is C, 185 bushels per acre. That was 9 bushels more than the previous record set just the year before. 2014 marked the third year in a row Mississippi farmers set a corn yield record.
We're going to pause now for a break on Farm Week. Coming up, we'll have the calendar and one more feature story for you. We'll learn about a program that helps refugees to use their agricultural skills to build a new life in America.
There are some moments in life where everything seems to be just right. Time slows down, and memories are made that will last a lifetime. That is, unless you've got fire ants. Then those memories can quickly turn into nightmares. It's time to bite back, Mississippi. Learn how to make your yard a safe place to play again at msucares.com/biteback.
Now, before we get back to our last story, let's look at the Farm Week calendar. The Memphis Black Belt Branch Station of Mississippi State University will hold its annual field day Wednesday, June 24th. It's located north of Brooksville on Highway 45. The hours are 9:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. A tour of the station's livestock and crop research will take place in the morning. The tour will visit farms in the afternoon. Lunch will be served. A hay and forage field day will be held Tuesday, June 30th. The location is the Memphis Coastal Plain Experiment Station on Coastal Plain Road, east of Newton. The tour begins at 5 p.m., or starts, I should say, at 5 p.m. and ends with a meal at 6:30. Admission is free, but you must call ahead as soon as possible to reserve a plate. We'll have the number on our Farm Week calendar. Topics will include pasture weed control, sprayer calibration, current forage research, and hay and production management. Go to our Farm Week website at farmweek.msucares.com for information on these and other events. Now check out this week's Farm Week Snapshot.
Our last feature story today shows that the love of farming knows no borders. In Des Moines, Iowa, there's a program that helps refugees take advantage of their agricultural backgrounds and start their own truck crop operations. Market to Market's Paul Yeager explains.
Angelique Hakuzimana is happiest in a farm field, a location that's halfway around the world from her native war-torn land. This 1/4 acre is in her new home of Iowa. But getting here was a long journey from Rwanda. She left her family and came alone to the United States in 2009. Hakuzimana knew agriculture. She'd learned about the importance of hard work from her father, who managed a coffee plantation. But once in the States, Hakuzimana realized she was a long way from home.
My hand needed to do work. I needed to do the same my job me do in Africa. So I'm crying to do. So now Jesus give it to me. I'm happy because I have a garden now. So
This is how you test your pH.
This classroom is full of refugees from around the world. They are in an incubator program called Global Greens, operated by Lutheran Services in Iowa, or LSI.
People that we work with are people who have literally lost their land and a lot of other things. There are people who are very connected to where they lived agriculturally, but had that taken away from them and living in refugee camps. Very small space, there's not much room for agriculture and much else, and so this is just an opportunity to give them so much kind of healing in that way, and it's also producing great food.
Even though many in this room have a farming background, the Iowa soil is different than what they're used to.
Your grass.
To get a better feel for the new ground that they're breaking, this group of farmers is taking classes that focus on planting and preparation for the growing season ahead.
So if you have a really long stem, if you plant that outside, the wind's going to blow it over and it's going to break.
160 refugee families across Iowa are engaged in some form of farming under the Social Services Program. Some have plots big enough to feed their family. Others have taken the next step and are growing enough food to sell on the open market.
They love growing the food, they can do that really well, but then it's like, okay, what do I do with this? And how to do that in an efficient way that's going to make them the most money for their work too.
Therein lies the next challenge: understanding and operating in the American free market. Part of the education program of Global Greens is finding a market that goes beyond selling tomatoes and peppers to include more unique produce. Officials at LSI hope to open a new path for farmers by selling directly to restaurants. And timing couldn't be better for the program as the locally sourced food movement gains traction.
Kind of goes hand in hand with each other because it's people who often don't even have a concept for local food because that's what food was. So we're kind of trying to go back a little bit in those ideas, and we're really trying to help them understand their place in the local food system, and I think even kind of get a feel for how important what they're doing is.
Tracts of land are set up all over the capital city of Des Moines, some in neighborhoods, the largest near a community center.
whichever one you think is better.
LSI set up this farmers market in a neighborhood not far from their plots. This small-scale approach acts as a training ground for these growers. Some of the produce is exotic and may have a potential for higher return for the grower.
For a lot of them, it's just they love doing it. That's where they feel kind of at home and reminds them of their home.
From the farm to the market, those involved are grateful for the opportunity. Farmers are known as dreamers. Hakuzamana is no different.
My favorite is garden. Is me work outside. You know me. So the garden now me have is small. I need a big farm.
Hakuzamana was approved for only one of 8 1/4-acre gardens and balances working the larger plot with her job as a custodian at a local church. There are other programs like this around the country, so the sharing of ideas is easy for organizers. But getting your own plot of land is not. Global Greens has a waiting list.
So every year we're trying to find new sites for around Des Moines, at least for community gardens, and then always having people who want more land, so we're always searching for larger spots.
Once in the program, the commitment for producers is substantial. Farmers of the larger plots have to arrange transportation to their land by either driving themselves or taking the bus. But beyond the fields of opportunity today is the lesson of putting something away for tomorrow.
We've actually been able to pair them with Practical Farmers of Iowa. With that organization, they've been really supportive, and all 8 of our farmers are enrolled in their savings incentive program. So it's a program where over 2 years they create a business plan, get to meet with a farm mentor who kind of has a similar business as theirs or their goals, and then there's a savings match. So they're putting a little bit into savings every year or every month, and then after 2 years for the amount, it's a little over $2,000. If they've saved, they'll match that money, which is great for them. In 2 years, they'll be ready to go to at least invest in some infrastructure or part of their land.
Global Greens provided the opportunity to get Hakuzimana back into the field. Now the refugee is closer to realizing the American farmer's dream of owning her own land.
Now I'm working. Now I have a garden. I'm doing food. I can plant the seeds, little seeds like this. Me putting the brown is come big. Everything come big. Everything come big. Oh man, yeah. So that is my favorite. My job is a garden.
For Market to Market, I'm Paul Yeager.
And you can watch this story again on Global Greens at our Farm Week website. That's farmweek.msucares.com. You can also watch Farm Week stories on YouTube and Facebook, and we will have a link to the Market to Market website there so you can see the story as well as read the actual script. And again, it's all at farmweek.msucares.com. So a good training ground there.
Excellent idea. Helps the refugees to acclimatize, and if they can start a business, well, that's icing on the cake.
That's right.
Well, we are at the end of Farm Week for this week. On our next show, you'll meet Brent Brazier. He's a one-of-a-kind farmer.
Brazier is Mississippi's only canaf grower. He's finding long-term success in specialty markets. His products range from oil absorbents to reptile bedding to organic kitty litter.
In the Food Factor, Kitchen Tech. Find out how it can help you cook.
And in Southern Gardening, the well-rounded landscape. You can do it with these round flowers.
For the rest of the Farm Week crew, I'm Artis Ford.
And I'm Leighton Spann. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next week.